we prepare now for practice number 2, the Repco Bathurst 1000. We are at Mount Panorama, and the great news, it's dry. We've been talking a lot about wet, wet, wet. So we started out with wet fringes in practice 1 earlier in the day, and it dried up to the point where we saw record speed for practice 1.
It actually sort of it's got a mottled look when you see it on camera, but nicely presented. I was just talking before to Lounsey, and I said, if you need to go to Bathurst, because the amount of times he went down the escape road, Compo, in the previous run, if you need something picked up from Bathurst, I'm happy to run down and get it for you.
That's not a good look, unfortunately. No. That's well buried for Kostecki down there.
Yeah, copy, mate, copy.
Red flag, red flag, red flag.
But he's done a lot of drive days, and he's done a bit of testing with them, and he actually felt like he was pretty well prepared. That's a very strange place to end up wide down there, and look how wet and slippery it is on that grass. And he's not been able to get it stopped, and it's ended up parked up in the sand pretty heavily down there. So this is going to be a tripwire for many drivers this weekend. I mean, even if we had pretty fair conditions all the way through to Sunday now, that's Jake Kostecki on screen, it's going to be really muddy, wet, sloppy out there, Mark. If you do make an error, it'll be very difficult to come back. Not an easy thing to do to be a co-driver in this race, and now that there's only one co-driver race a year, that equation's become even more complex.
We're also hearing, sorry Mel, we're also hearing, see all those stripes in the road, or the filler that's in the bitumen this weekend. We're also hearing that all the drivers are reporting that that's a substantial grip uplift in those areas. It's like a rag or something, it is. It's a piece of rag hanging out from in the door jamb.
Slightly off the line, even on the line, in fact, and in the end called a halt to proceedings to resolve it. So James was able to net a second position out of that one. So he's trundling around there at the moment. He's done some testing in the car. Like everybody, all of the co-drivers have been doing drive days, they've been doing the test days, they've been hanging around the teams to come to terms with the task. They did test at Winton just recently. When I spoke to him yesterday, James said it was really slow compared to his previous run there, and that was a little bit baffling. Pick the real frosty, says Scott Pye.
David just coming down, uses every little bit of road there in the braking area. The right-hand loaded side tyres were against the white line, and he comes up very nicely. That is a very, very nice lap. That's a 4.23.
Quick kids that's come out of karting as we pick up on Alex Davis, and just shaking the tail coming out of turn 2. They fire it back into second gear for this corner now, but they're only in it ever so briefly, and it just got sideways on him at the wrong moment there.
Can he get it pulled up here too? He does. This is going to be a nice run. So have a look here, Zane Goddard. He's able to do slightly better than he did before with a 5.08.
Where they come out of that corner in second gear and grab thirds, often where you see the cars really lighting up, and you can see the evidence on the road. There's a lot of rubber left behind there.
He was just doing the little warm-up phase there. So Caruso, you could expect with fresher tyres on and off the road.
Yeah, okay.
Luff off the road.
Sorry, mate.
And he's deep, so that's going to be red flag. So that'll be the end of the Wing Cup lap.
And he's saying he didn't think he got in too crazy hot, but wow, she fired off the road. So he would have released the brake pressure at a point down there to try and protect the tyre, and then has tried to gas it up out the other side, but in vain when he's tried to change direction. So unfortunately for Warren, he's gone nowhere. And now there'll be a tale of woe from a bunch of drivers who had rubber on their cars because we near the back end of the session.
Gee, that's a long way in.
It is a long way in.
It's almost made right to the end of the track.
But what was interesting was Garth's opening statement. He did it on lap 4. Basically, he's gone out and done a cider. He's done a bit of a warm-up, and then he's had 2 cracks at it. And on his second flying lap, he's punched out a 2-minute 4.1, which he then backed up a few laps later with a 4.3. So he's emphatically making a statement about the pace that he's got in that car, and that's still continuing to stand with the check flag out now as the fastest time of the day. Matt Campbell comes up dramatically up 11 spots into position number 5 on a 4.7, and he's gone faster in the final sector than anybody else, so that's a great job. Tim Blanchard out of the final corner. Aaron Seaton, haven't spoken much about Aaron yet.
Nice job.
Moved up into 9th position.
Yeah.
And he's Glenn Seaton's son, who was Barry Seaton's son, who was the 1965 winner here.
What about Murphy with a 5.8? So not only did he eclipse the lap of the gods number earlier with a 6.2, he's done a 5.8 at the end. Now, what did Richie do? It wasn't really indicative. He didn't really do a proper run in the earlier session. But Greg Murphy with a 5.8, that's a nice time.
Might be a telling shot in the background of those Dunlop wet tyres mounted and ready to go. But what a great statement by Garth Tander early in practice 2, the second of the 2 practice sessions today. A 2-minute 4.1 to be the quick man, 1/10 clear of David Russell. Jamie Whincup continued to improve his time. He probably took a bit of a bite out of those tyres prior to that. He still achieved a 2-minute 4.4. Jordan Boys, that was nice work in position 4. Matt Campbell up at the end in position 5. Zane Goddard, Zach Best, Fabian Coulthard, Aaron Seaton, James Moffat, our top 10.